Hey, it's Rob Rush, and as you can see, I am joined by a cast of characters who you may or may not be familiar with. And if you're not familiar with them, you better figure out why you're not familiar with them. They are going to be coming to Long Island. There is another gentleman that's missing, but he may be coming on. I'm talking about the cast of The Sopranos, as you can see here on Zoom. We're joined by Jason Serban, who played Jackie Aprile Jr., Dan Grimaldi, who played Patsy, Matt Sarita, who played Agent Harris, and if Robert Fonarow, who played Eugene, is going to be coming, he will be joining us shortly. And the reason why these guys are all here is not because they wanted to talk to me personally. They are going to be coming to Seaford. It's going to be a night with the Sopranos, and that's going to be on October 5th at a place called 3490 Cocktail Bar and Lounge. That's on Merrick Road. And guys, thank you for coming on and taking some time.
Thank you, Rob, for having us.
Glad to be here. It's a little ominous when you said Robert's missing. I'm like, when you're coming from the Sopranos,
it might be in Florida.
Sort of mean, and especially with that character of his. So,
you ask and you shall receive. We are going to admit him right now. So he's going. Oh, there he is.
He's in witness protection. Here he comes.
Yeah, that's why he's showing his old picture.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, we only get to see his avatar.
His avatar. Yeah. What's the matter? You in witness protection, Robert? You can't put the real picture up. Maybe you can't hear me either.
Oh God,
he's inaudible too.
He's going to be coming on, but are you guys surprised? Matt, we were talking about this off of the air. Like, I guess not the reemergence, but the resurgence of The Sopranos thanks to streaming. And I think it all started back during the pandemic when nobody literally had anything to do, so they started just coming on and rewatching shows, and The Sopranos just was one of them.
The point, Rob, is that this is the best show in TV history. And every 10 years, we get a resurgence because those young people who were not able to watch it because their parents kept them away from it for various reasons are watching it. And then we get a new population of fans, and it's an ongoing thing. And I think it'll last for us forever. I mean, it's just until some other show, which I doubt, could surpass the greatness of The Sopranos.
Yeah, it was a great show, well written, well produced, well acted. And Robert, thanks for coming on, buddy. Nice to see
I got to apologize. I got on the phone with Freddie the freeloader, and the guy is like he's everywhere. And so anyway, I apologize, Rob. And here I am, and so great for you to have us. And hi to Matt and Jason and Danny. What's going on? What's going on? We're really excited. We're really
cool. I met Jason a couple years ago at this event. My brother wanted me to take him to meet the guys. It was in Hicksville. It was at a card store, and it was a bunch of different guys.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was a bunch of different guys that were there. But is this fun for you to get? How often do you guys talk to each other, the cast members? Being that it's been over 17 years since the show's been off the air. It's crazy to think that. So how often do you guys get together?
It's actually been the biggest gift after the fact, because Dan and I spent a lot of time. We worked, at that same time. Although we didn't have scenes together, we were at the set a lot. Bobby as well. But Matt and I have become friends in the last few years. Mm-hmm. I'm probably his best friend in the world. I don't want.
You're probably his only friend.
Yeah,
I thought that was his wife, his best friend.
No, you're his only friend, Jason.
Stop it, Matt.
Acting.
But no, and guys like Vinny Pastor, who I never worked with.
Yeah.
So doing these type of things, whether it be a charity event or things like this, I've gotten to know some of the cast that I never would have. It's really been a lot of fun, and I love all these guys. I really do.
And actually, Rob, a lot of us had worked together before The Sopranos. There was a lot of interactions. I worked with Mikey Imperioli, with Aida, with Sharon, with Frank Vincent, with Tony Sirico, with Vinny Pastori. So I mean, we had these relationships before The Sopranos, and they have continued after. And Bobby and Jason and I are in business together. And Matt is a really good friend. He does have friends. He's really a nice guy, Matt. But anyway,
now that's acting. That's Dan acting. Yeah. And I believed him. That's how good he is.
So did I. Yeah. So let's talk about Seaford. You guys are going to all be there on October 5th.
Here's the thing. I made a trip on the Bell Parkway to see Killer Joe.
Okay.
there were some people there, and I met JD, of course.
Mhm.
You know, everyone knows JD. JD Angel, Chris Angel's brother.
Yeah.
We hit it off, and I met Jamie, and he was just so excited. And then Jamie called me, and he said, "We want to try to get something together here with the show." And I said, "Talk to Andrew, our business manager, Jed Locko, you know, Andrew Frank Group." And as Danny said, we got over at the cafe, and it really all came together. But I never thought that the Bell Parkway. So Killer Joe's always teasing me now. The Bell Parkway has been very good to you. So you know, I'll get back on it. I'll get back on it again. You know, to 34.9. It's a nice club, and there's nice clientele that came there. You know, Killer did the first show, and then of course I met Andre, whom I reached out to talk to you, and that's all how it all happened. That's how these things happen, make contacts, network, and looking forward to being out there and sharing some time with the fans.
Yeah, it's going to be fun for everybody, and it's a real affordable night. It's $99. Tickets are at eventbrite.com. You could just Google Sopranos Seaford, and it will come up. What is it like for you guys to meet, you know, all these fans?
You know, it's an honor. Our fans are fantastic. I mean, they are so dedicated to us. They make us feel like stars, you know, celebrities, and it's an honor that, you know, as you said, they know our lines better than we do. I mean, I've forgotten most of mine, but you know, they do quote the lines, and it's just incredible how much they love the show and they love us, and it just feels very good to be with them and around them and be able to give them a little bit of us, which is what they really appreciate.
This group right here, these four, well, and I'll include myself, handled these crowds so well. Like when I'm with these guys, they're so polite, pleasant. I mean, this is a lot of good Italian Catholic boys that were raised right and are always polite to everyone, sign everything, always, you know, smiling. And it is, as somebody, you know, Dan said, it's a gift to be many years later getting to engage with fans, and I absolutely love it. And there's just also this whole cast, at least in my experience, there was so much humility, even when we were doing the show, even when the show was starting to take off, from the number one in the call sheet down, there wasn't, you know, there was very little attitude. Everybody went to work, did their job, and I said I've worked on a lot of shows. That one had no ego, still has no ego, and still just some of the best people ever.
Yeah, that's I think, well, I told you I met Aida at a wedding last week, and that's one of the things she was talking to somebody else, and she said if there was any ego on the show, everybody nipped it in the bud right there. Yeah, which I thought was really cool. And you know, everybody, they just had the Wise Guy documentary that was on HBO Max about David Chase, and everybody, you know, what was your experience like working with David Chase and James Gandolfini? I mean, you know, David masterminded the show, and was everything like you hear? Was it all meticulous and thought out for every single scene?
Well, I think the first thing I would say is that you know, it all came down from James, his humility, and his treatment of everyone on the set, from a background actor, and that carried on. And like Matt said, I've been on some other sets, although Sopranos really was my first real professional job. There's this hierarchy, there's this echelon of the big people. They don't mingle, and that was untrue of Sopranos. It was that we ate together, we had the you know, crafty, and we spoke, and there was no egos there. And that's what made it so great, I think, you know.
I think that the big word is gratitude. I think even I wasn't on the first season, but I know they nobody knew what they were involved in the first year, and when it became such a big hit, I mean, everybody was grateful to be on that show, and we are today. We still are. I mean, we're just so grateful to be Sopranos. I mean, it's like you know, it's the gift that keeps giving, and it's a great honor to be on the best show in the history of television and to be part of it. I mean, I mean, I don't know how you couldn't be humbled by the experience. I mean, we love being Sopranos. We love our fans, and we look forward to sharing ourselves with them. And you know, at 3490 Seaford on October 5th, we're looking forward to that. We look forward to each one of these events, and we can't wait to be amongst our fans and to share experiences and share our stories. I do a lot of golf charity events, and I enjoy doing them. And same thing, you golf with a foursome, and they love to hear the stories, and they love to be around the cast of The Sopranos. So it's just a gratitude. It's just tremendous to be one, and I'm very grateful that I am, and I know my three colleagues feel the same way, and so did the whole cast. And as Bobby said, it came from Jimmy. I never saw Jimmy refuse an autograph. 6 a.m, half asleep, and people would be asking for pictures. And I see on Instagram, sometimes I see these scenes where he just gives and gives and gives, and he never stopped. And that rubbed off on all of us, whether we were like that before or not. You followed his lead.
Yeah, and Jason, we're about the same age. So what was it like for you being a younger guy to get on a show that was so popular and so enthralled into the public at the time?
Wait. You know how old I am? I mean, this face.
I was going to say.
This face
that was
says
an
age.
assumption on your part, Rob.
There's been a lot of stuff that's gone on. This is not the young face that I really
Man, I
am.
don't know. You're not a heartthrob, man. I got to tell you the truth, man. Jason's the man.
Oh, forget.
I was going to say, Dan, you look 43 3/4. Am I right?
We did a thing on and with Vito. Vito's restaurant. Vito had a restaurant called Soup as Art on 3rd Avenue in Brooklyn, and we did a thing. Oh, it was during the height of The Sopranos, and Jason was there, and there were 500 young girls screaming and yelling outside the restaurant, just wanting to tear his clothes off him.
No, it was, for me, it was, getting onto my favorite show. I mean, I basically got introduced the end of the second season, but so I had watched the first season. I loved the show. And so for me to step into that world of I'm adoring, obviously the entire show, but the cast, to be around Jim and to be around everybody, it was the greatest thing ever. And I just remember really enjoying it at the time, thankfully being able to enjoy it while it was happening. And, I look back on it like it's something I'm extremely proud of. And so when we do these events, like we were saying earlier, it's like when we get to meet the fans, there are times where I kind of feel beforehand a little bit, not worthy, these people are coming to see me, but then I get there and it's like, these people are so happy to meet you because you were a part of something that was so important to them, and something that, again, that I'm so proud of, that I always end up leaving there with a great experience, and like Dan said, it's the gift that keeps on giving. It's been wonderful.
Matt, do people treat you differently, Matt, when they meet you because you were the FBI agent as opposed to most of these other guys were in the family?
Yeah. I was telling the story recently. I lucked out on a just absolute terrible event. After, yes, first 4 seasons, people hated me, screaming at me on the subway, really getting very angry. And first of all, I said,
that wasn't because you were Agent Harris, man.
Yeah,
was just
I know. Exactly. And the thing is, it's like, I was, I'll get, I'm going to get off on a tangent. Anyways, 9/11 happened. And after 9/11, every writer in New York and New Jersey went back to work and said, the world's changed. We got to change the writing. We have to, acknowledge the events, what's happening. And one of the things they did was take me off of organized crime. Agent Harris off of organized crime and put him into anti-terrorism. That changed my entire storyline. And even though we were the Keystone Cops up to that point, I tell people, I never made one arrest. Yes, we would talk to people and they'd end up dead, but we didn't arrest them. They just, but so that then the second half of the show, seasons 5, 6, 7, 6A and B, I was able to begin to have many more scenes with Jimmy, and that fascinating relationship that began to bud of I'm giving him information, he's giving me information. So the fans, when they say to me, "Oh, I loved your character," I'm like, "No, you loved him at the end, but let's be honest. Seasons 1 through 4, you weren't liking me at all." But yeah, so that it really did help a lot that my writing changed, and it's like these guys said, it was also very hard because if we were doing one particular case, like we did Adriana one season, I wouldn't work with anybody else. That's it. You'd only see people at rap parties, maybe a table read every once in a while. So as Jason said, I mean, it's just so great because this, now that the show's over and we get to do these events, I am so grateful. And especially since Jimmy passed, I'm so grateful every chance I get to be with these guys, some of the other cast members, because it's just, we get to keep, the friendships alive and keep the spirit of the show. And I feel like also Jimmy's spirit, big time alive.
Yeah. And again, it's going to be at 3490, which is on Merrick Road in Seaford on October 5th. It's a Saturday night. You can get tickets at eventbrite.com. And you guys are, you're great. And I think everybody's going to enjoy spending time with you. Robert, I'm sure you've heard this, and I want to get your take on it. I guess it's a fan theory that's out there that because the guy that was wearing a members only jacket in that last episode was somehow related to you in a way that I think one of the guys here is a big fan, and he said you have to ask him. The theory is that it was your wife on the show
I've
contracted the guy, and he wore the members only jacket in honor of you. Have you heard that?
It's amazing how the people put together like these scenarios, almost like little filmmakers. They go to the iMovies and they put it all together, and it's a credible theory. I mean, I'm not, as to its validity, well, you'd have to ask David in person. I don't think you'd get the answer because he's like a gnome. He's like a leprechaun, he's a riddler, But I saw that clip and I said, it could be. But I think the best explanation of Tony, the end, was Peter Bogdanovich said that you make up your own ending. That it's a cross section of America: the Boy Scouts, the rappers, the African American cats, the whole the onion ring, the whole thing,
Yeah.
and it's just the whole thing. And you make it up yourself. Now, who do you really want? And I go sometimes I'm just before I sleep. Who the hell wants to see Tony Soprano like murdered? I don't want to see him murdered.
Yeah.
He got shot by Aprile Jr. That was enough,
Yeah.
I mean, I think that in perpetuity. It like Bogdanovich said, it's going to go on. Everything's going to go on in America. We have the election going on. It just never ends. The killing, the wars, we're as crazy as we were back then from the beginning. You know what I mean? So hopefully we can straighten this out. So, it's a valid theory, Rob. I mean, could be.
Hey, you never know.
Yeah.
What was I guess we'll start with Matt and then we'll go with the rest. Your favorite episode to be part of, performance-wise. Matt, what was yours?
Oh man, it's just a scene. I'm trying to remember. It was last season. It was the season 7, probably near the beginning. I always say season 7 for purposes that there were 7 seasons. They have to legally be referred to as season 6A and 6B.
We just realized why they did that. If you watch the documentary, it was it was a money thing. Yeah.
Yep. Oh yeah. Of course. There was a payday to be had, so gone. There's just a scene with Jimmy and I sitting in a car at Teterboro Airport. He's looking for intel. I'm looking for intel. Started to snow, it really snow while we were there shooting, and we were just saying it was late. And then it was the end of it, like probably a Friday night, what we call a Fraturday. So it's 2, 3 in the morning. They're passing coffee to us. We can't run the heater during takes because the car was crappy and old, and the sound department's like, oh, you got to turn the heater off. So we're just freezing, sitting there snowing. And it was just one of my favorite times working with Jim. We were so punch drunk, not really drunk, laughing, silly because it's 2 in the morning, it's snowing. We're trying to remember these lines, freezing. And it ended up being a great scene. And for me, it was just the 2 of us in a car. So we got to just hang there for hours. And we'd always work together. You kind of slap happy talking, you go back to crafty. This was just 2 of us in the car for hours. And it was probably a great breakthrough for me with being, Jimmy could seem, could seem so menacing and aloof and all this stuff. And he was at his heart just a teddy bear. And, you just kind of had to get through that veneer that he had. I'm sure everybody had their moment with him as well. But for me, that was probably my favorite. So,
Dan, what about you?
Well, it was the scene with Jimmy. It was similar. It's the scene where Patsy, where he asked Patsy to pledge allegiance, and that's my favorite acting scene in the show. Is I always hope that in my eyes were the thoughts that I would like to put a bullet in his head because he killed my brother. But he torments me. He asked me did I give up the grief? And he asked me to say it, and he does it 3 times. And it's kind of tormenting and humiliating. And I think both of us did a pretty good job at expressing how we felt, subtext beyond the words.
Yeah.
I will second the motion that it was amazing.
Jason?
For me, it was probably that scene, beginning of the 3rd season, where I meet Tony at Vesuvio. He calls me to come there and tell me that my Uncle Richie was a rat, basically, because they need an explanation of why he's gone. And for me, that was like my first real sort of toe-to-toe scene with Jim, and it was just a memorable one for me. It was kind of like my induction into the show, for me, Jason, personally.
And what about you, Rob? What was your most memorable scene?
Oh, well, I mean, the scene that I had with James, that asking him, that I wanted to get out of the and retire to Florida. He had canceled the dates both 2 times. So it's like, so I kept on shooting the show, you know what I mean? So I think he did it purposely. He wanted me to get into the groove of things, So, I mean, that's the way he was. And it was just a great scene that I had with him. And that was the greatest on-camera scene that I had, one-on-one with James, asking him to, let me get out, you know what I'm saying? And his cancellations I was always happy. Oh, I got more time to work on the scene. But off camera, we were on a golf course. I'll just briefly say this off camera. On the golf course, some of the guys heard this one. I'm off camera. We're off camera. We're driving the golf cart back, and we finished the scene. And he said, "I'll give you $2,000 if you drive the golf cart into that little pond there." And he meant it. He meant it. He meant it. And I said, and I thought about it. I know, because I know him as a friend also, that he was like that. He would definitely give him that $2,000. And I said, maybe that's not such a good idea, because he has to shoot later on, and I'll probably be off the show if he breaks his arm or something. All these fucking
wait a minute. He wanted you to drive with him in it?
Yes, both together. He said, "I'll give you $2,000." Because if you look at him, like they have some pictures in his shoot. That particular day, James was so bored with everything. You could say,
yes,
looking at the camera, like,
yeah,
"Okay, take a shot." It's like
he could be a little kid, man.
Like, yeah, it's me.
Yeah.
But he's like bored. He's like, "Oh, get me out of here," And he just wanted to have some excitement. So that was his excitement. Me driving into the pond with the golf cart. So that was my greatest the best off-camera scene,
When Jimmy was bored, let me tell you, man, because you reminded me, I'm like, he just would get impish, or he'd be like, "All right, let's order $10,000 worth of sushi, like right now. Here's my cart." Like he's bored, he's hungry, he's like wants to go home, Oh my God.
Yeah.
So
there were a lot of really cool cameos or guest stars. Dan, wasn't your wife Donna Pescow, who was in Saturday Night Fever?
Yeah, from Saturday Night Fever. Yeah, I actually had 2 wives, and Donna was my second wife, and she was great. She was great to work with. We had a lot of fun. She was she was a doll, as she was on Saturday Night Fever. So it was great to work. It was great to work with her very much.
She from Brooklyn, Dan?
I don't. I think so. I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
I have a friend that went to high school with her.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Brooklyn. What about anybody else stand out for all you guys? That I guess when you go out and you're in the scene and you're going out to a club or you're invited. Who was the one person? I guess I'll ask all of you individually that you were starstruck at, that came up to you and was just like, "Wow, I love you on the show," or "Aren't you on The Sopranos?" Who would that be for you, Jason?
Yeah. Oh man. Come back to me. I feel like I have.
Dan, you want to take a shot?
No, I don't.
I'll take a shot.
Go ahead,
for me,
Robert.
it was at the funeral where I gave James money and members only, his taste, so to say. And I met Frankie Valli for the first time. I mean, listen to his songs, being from Brooklyn like Danny. We grew up with Frankie Valli, and then having lunch with him and Frank Vincent, and him telling us about this this Broadway show that out of town things, the Jersey Boys, and that he thinks it's going to be good. And that was just at the inception. And became this tremendous show. That was really a pretty starstruck moment I had with Valley, you know. So I was
Wow.
it was a great to meet him, great guy, you know.
What about
I
you,
remember
man?
one of the openings at Radio City. I don't know how I scored these perfect seats, but like sitting around me, and then they did interact and say, "Hey, great job," or love, you know, Rolling Stones. They loved the show. So Keith
wow.
Richards was there. Giuliani, I think he was still mayor at the time. He was behind me, and like as soon as I stood up, they're like, "Oh, you were in the show. Hey, great job!" You know, and that night, that must have been like, I think mostly we did Radio City. It's like by that point the show was huge. So it was like seasons 3 and 4. They would do the opening night at Radio City, red carpet, show 2 episodes. And God, that night, all the athletes, all the New York Giants loved the show. Yankees. I mean, those are the ones I've met that I kind of get starstruck because I'm like coming up to them with a baseball and they're like, "Hey, you're on Sopranos." You're just like, you know, I forget. I'm like, "Oh yeah, that too, sure." You know.
You remember, Jason?
I remembered. Yes. So at one of the premieres, Paul Rudd was kind of across the room, you know, in the sea of people, and I see him looking at me, and then he's pointing, but I'm totally like, he's obviously pointing at somebody. Like it was far away enough. There's no way this guy's pointing at me or has any clue. And like just makes his way over, and he was with his wife, and we just like were chatting. He was basically getting ready to do Friends. Actually, he was like contemplating it or whatever, and I had just seen him in a play like a couple weeks before that, so I was like, you know, blown away. And yeah, so Paul Rudd, that was a pretty good one.
And I'm a huge Springsteen fan. Did he ever show up on the set because of Stevie at all, or?
I met him at the when Stevie did the Rascals on Broadway.
Oh yeah.
After party at Sardi's, I did meet Bruce and Gary Talent. I wish someone would have introduced me to him as opposed to me going up to him. And like he's like, you know, everyone's coming up to him, you know, like, "How you doing?" He gave me a good fish handshake. Yeah, what's up? But I still, you know, it was great to meet. And also, of course, I did some plays with Maureen Van Zandt and meeting Stevie and the Underground Garage. I got into the whole rock and roll thing with the Ramones and their last performances downtown at CBGB's, and so it was a great experience musically speaking, and we had New Year's at the Hard Rock on on Broadway and stuff like that. So it was a great experience. So, you know, getting to see Stevie up close and personal, and so you know that was some great stuff. That's my experience, and of course then meeting the Southside Johnny and the whole Jersey thing, which I still go to. Vinny Pastel is big down there in Asbury Park, so. You know, it was a great experience with those people too, you know.
Yeah.
I went to a bunch of concerts, and Stevie had meet and greets, and he would invite us to go, and we'd meet Springsteen. So that was really nice. But you know, being a member of the Actor Studio, I'm around a lot of people who have made it in the industry. So I really don't have one person that I feel like you know, I was starstruck to meet.
Yeah.
Besides Ray Milland, when I was a young actor doing extra work on 7th Avenue.
Wow.
I was starstruck then. He sat down at the table with me, and I looked at him, and I was just getting started as an actor, and I was doing extra work, and I said, "Hello, Mr. Milland," and I felt like I had cotton in my mouth, and he looked at me and he said, "Just picking up a paycheck, son. I'm just picking up a paycheck." I did not understand what he meant. Because all he did was walk through a revolving door, and then years later, when I when I started to do work, I said, "So that's what he meant. You're just picking up a paycheck. You're not acting or anything. You're just here doing something, and they're paying you, and then you go home." So I was starstruck then. Ray Milland affected me in that way. But today, I've been in the company of many very, very successful actors and actresses, and so. I'm just lucky. I'm lucky to be around them at the Actor Studio and in a lot of work that I've done. So,
including these gentlemen that you're with today. And
those
Jason...
are the only ones. Those are the only ones that make me go silent. Because when I'm in their presence, I'm in awe of their ability, their good looks, and their youth.
And I'm in awe of Dan's dancing moves. We recently did something in Atlantic City. I got to see him get up. I didn't even know he could walk.
Jesus.
Dan can't walk, but he can dance. So anything can happen on casino night. Come and see us October 5th.
His knees
Seriously.
suddenly get better. His knees
A
suddenly
couple
get
of
better
drinks,
with the
you
ladies.
never know
Yeah,
what
a
Dan
couple of
Grimaldi's
drinks, some
gonna
pretty
do.
girls. All of a sudden, Dan's like can move. Like
I feel good, Bobby. I feel good. I feel good.
yeah.
Hey, you
all
know what?
comes
I
back,
mean,
man.
Seaford will have some dancing shoes, I guess, that night on
Yeah.
October
Yes,
5th.
Oh, yeah.
great, Rob, yes.
And Dan, you and Jason and Robert, you guys have your own company. We'll quickly talk about that before we let you guys go. It's called Cafe Omerta, where it's coffee, it's cigars. I'm looking at some of the names right now. I like 3 a.m. French toast, take the cannoli. What the F
That's
is
right.
the Highland Grog? So talk about this.
And we have woke up this morning.
Oh, okay.
That's actually that's my favorite. Woke up this morning is my favorite. That yours? But I mean the coffee too. I actually like the coffee. It's also, but it's a good title.
They're
I
great
like the
flavored
title.
coffees. They're great flavored coffees, and they have a great bottom, with the roast and every, so there's this, just not flavored, but they have, like, Jason likes that straight welcome to the family, and the other ones there. It's really good, rich coffee. Everyone we give to, when I get some extras, they say this is fantastic, and everyone that we sell it to, really, they're really pleased with it. Of course, the cigar line, that's a great too. See me and Jason, we might have a couple of cigars, and maybe Matt and Dan join us down at the outside 3490. Join us, and the cigars are good. I prefer the dark leaf, the Maduro. I don't know what these guys prefer, but that's
we have the barber pole cigar as well, which I
saw that.
kind of like. So that's sort of like middle of the road, where it's like, not too light, not too heavy. It's nice.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is the coffee, if you order the coffee on shopomerta.com, it's custom made. It's done when you order. That's when the coffee is created.
Roasted.
And also the cigars are created, custom made. So it's a really good brand of cigar and terrific tasting coffee. So shopomerta.com.
We get asked to do a lot of things, Rob, and when you do it, you say, it's a paycheck, Dan, But this one, really, I'm proud of it, and these guys supporting it. I mean, when I give it, or as a gift, or when I tell people, I know that they're going to enjoy the cigars or the coffee, and that's a great thing. Because I've been asked to promote some stuff that tomato gravy. I'm not going to say which one. Not that good. I like to cook, so
I remember I interviewed Steve Sarita a few years back, and he had his own line of gravy. And then I asked him again. I said, "You still have it?" He goes, "I don't got that no more."
They had wine too. A group of them. I was walking through the wine store like 5 years ago. Sopranos. I don't know if we had anything to do with it or anybody was connected, but it was just a label. I'm sure it was some piss from California or whatever. But
So this stuff is quality, Rob, and that's what's great.
yeah, no, that's what I'm saying.
Gotta
What
get
you
you
guys
some.
are doing
Gotta
is
get
so
you
much
some,
better.
man.
So much better.
We gotta get
I
you some.
will get on there at the cafeomerta.com and buy some, and maybe you bring some down.
Shop
Bring
Omerta.
some for you, man.
Shop
Bring some for you.
Omerta, Rob.
Shop
Shopomerta.com.
All right. Well, thank you for
.com.
correcting me. I appreciate that. Dan Grimaldi, Matt Servito, Jason Serban, and Robert Fonarow all will be together. 3490 Cocktail Bar and Lounge. It's a night of drinks, fun, and more with the cast of The Sopranos. You could get tickets at eventbrite.com. And guys, thank you so much for taking the time out and reliving some memories for you and